I just sat on this rock and I just remember crying out to the God that I didn't know and just asking, I'm just really lost and I need help. When God opened my eyes that day on the river, like I wear glasses or contacts and I didn't have on either that day. And I literally could see like the bugs on the leaves on trees far away. And I'm like in this crystal clear vision. And I don't even know how to describe the colors. Everything was electric, like just vivid, like the most vivid colors that you could see. And I felt the presence of God and just like reaching up to the heavens that I didn't know were even there. And then it was just like God came in and he filled those 5 senses in me. And I ran up that hill and I called my boyfriend and I said, you're a great guy, but I just thought I need to break up with you.
Hey, housewives, come on in. The dirty dishes are still in the sink from yesterday and the laundry is still in the basket. Pop your AirPods in and make yourself at home here.
I'm Tracy.
I'm Tori.
And we are your Unlikely Housewives. Stepping out in faith and believing that God calls the unlikely, we are here to show you the appreciation and validation you deserve, lead you to authentic relationships, and release you of believing the cultural lies to restore your faith and wellness.
Pull up those high-waisted yoga pants, tighten your top knot, and reheat your coffee for the 3rd time. Turn up the volume, and let's go. Hey, housewives. Hey, oh my gosh. Again, I know we start off the episode with it, but just we get to do some of the coolest things.
Yeah, we meet some of the most incredible people.
And we've also decided now that we need a road trip.
Yeah. And I think that's not a road trip. That's a flight.
That one's a flight. But that specifically. So stay tuned to the absolute end of the episode and you'll find out where we're going.
Yes, we can join us.
Yes. But also we were talking about like how fun it would be to go across the country and meet some of our guests like in person.
And so amazing. Just like, we're going to go have coffee in Arizona. And then we're going to go up and have coffee in Idaho. And then we're going to stop in Kentucky. We got to go to Georgia. I mean, it's all these incredible guests that we've had.
Yes. We could go to Texas. It would be so fun.
Yeah.
So if you would like to contribute and make that happen, one, to give us suggestions, put in the comments of where you would like us to see the Unlikely Housewives show up, what city and state. And then also, you can always contribute to the fund. So I'll let you know what our bank account number is if you message me for that direct deposit. But this episode, this was somebody that we were referred to from a previous guest.
Yeah.
And those have really been fantastic on how God has just placed those people just specifically. And
I think it comes from the topic. Like we just keep talking about you are not alone. And we've been talking about topics that just aren't necessarily, they're welcomed. I don't mean they're not welcomed, but they're hard to hear sometimes. It's just that vulnerability, not that space. Some of the spaces that we talk about aren't always, pretty, flattering, flashy, whatever you want to call it. We talk about the hard.
Yes. And this is another conversation where the Holy Spirit absolutely led the way. And we thought that this was going to be a conversation about like the life of having multiple abortions and then being not able to have children after that. I mean, that sounds really heavy and hard. But one, it was such a joy-filled conversation with her.
Yeah.
And then just talking about how God has used every single part of that to finding the love of her life of 32 years.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yeah.
Yep. 32 years. And then at the age of 48, becoming a mom. Like that's incredible too on, the way that God used Alana in that orchestrating and the timing. And then, and again, if none of that happened, there would be no book.
Right.
There would be no book of the year. There would be no, and then turning into spiritual warfare.
Yeah.
I mean, gosh, what did we not cover in this one?
I know. And I think when you hear Robin's story, my favorite part is really when she met Jesus. It's such a beautiful visual.
She describes it so graphically.
Yes. And you're like, not all of us have that type of a story.
No.
But
when she did, you could just feel it. Like you feel connected to that story. And she just shares God's grace and the redemption that he's had over every piece of her brokenness. And it's just a real beautiful story.
Yep, absolutely. This is for you, housewives. This is for the one who needs a spiritual rebranding.
Enjoy.
Hey, housewives.
Hey, welcome back.
Welcome back. And I am just like, come on, Tracy, how cool is what we get to do?
This is a really fun job that we get to just meet people. Sadly, not as much in person as we would like.
I know. And we were talking about where the Unlikely Housewives are going to hit a road trip here in the next.
We're just going to have a tour.
Yeah.
There we go.
Okay. In the comments, write if you want what city you want the Unlikely Housewives to come in, because traveling is my love language. And I'm pretty sure I can convince Tracy at least to go for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So she'll miss her family at some point.
At some point.
But I'll send her back. It's fine. But with that being said, we have another great guest for you guys. So, and Tracy's going to introduce her.
Yeah. Okay. Well, today we have Robin Gerblick with us, and her bio is probably one of my favorites to read. It's so beautifully written. Born out of broken, delivered by destiny, and grown into grace. She's chosen daughter of the King, a teacher, award-winning author, communicator, encourager, lover of life and the living water. Motivated to share her love of God and overall wellness in a non-traditional venue, Robin founded the Exodus Women's Retreats, wellness for your spirit, soul, and body. After leaving a long career as a CSI girl, she fulfilled her lifelong passion of helping women to realize their true, lasting, and influencing beauty is one that flows out of what is rooted within, and to help women discover what it means to be in the presence of the one who speaks through us and to us in our spirit, soul, and body. She's married to her best friend and soulmate, mom to their adopted daughter, a dog mom, and a Grammy. And she has a new book, Giving Up Grace, a spiritual rebranding of the soul, which it dives deep into Robin's personal story to expose the lasting lifetime scars that abortion leaves in its wake and the gift of God's grace that bridges the gap between guilt and grace. Welcome, Robin.
Well, thank you so much, Tracy, Tori. It's my pleasure to be here. I've been looking forward to this actually for a long time from our first initial interview. So I'm so happy to be here. Thanks.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you. That's encouraging. That it wasn't like, oh gosh, what am I going to say to these ladies? Well, okay. So you've written a book based on your story and sharing what you've done, but tell us a little bit about yourself. I mean, other than the basic facts, married to best friend, adopted daughter, tell us a little bit about your background.
Okay. Well, that's been a long journey. It hasn't been easy. I always say that I kissed a lot of frogs before I got the prince. So it's been a journey. Sometimes I refer to it as my 40-year wandering in the desert. Going through a lot of what the Israelites went through, really just looking for spiritual food and living water that could have helped save my life and save me from going through so much of the heartache that I did. But that's how it all started, with the love of my life way back when I was 19, and just assumed that I would get married, have kids, and live in the little house with the 2.5 children and the picket fence and all of that. And it did not work out that way. It ended in an abortion. And while that was my first, it wasn't my last. So the trend of looking for love in all the wrong places continued, unfortunately, for many, many years, until I found the love of my life, who was Jesus. So until then, he was the love that I'd been searching for all those years. I never realized it. It was so simple, but I was complicating things so much. And it's just such a gift to live in his grace. It's just a beautiful place to be. And when all of that comes together, then you meet the earthly love of your life. And we've been married 32 years now. So it's just been an amazing, amazing journey with Jesus in the lead.
Which is a beautiful story and testament. So my question is, how did you find Jesus in all of the mess? Because I know that's something, Tori and I, we've got our stories, and how we've encountered him and fallen away and come back. And We would love to hear your version.
Yeah, mine was I really needed a lightning bolt experience. That was what I needed in order to get it through my thick head and heart that there was something more out there for me. So I came to Jesus in a very unexpected way. There's a chapter in my book that describes it, but it's a river runs through it because I had already been married and divorced 3 times. And I was in a relationship that I loved the guy. He was great, but he had 4 kids, which were not the problem, but it was still a complication. And just don't know, there was just still something missing in the relationship. And I didn't know what it was at the time. But so we had, kind of an argument, I guess. And down below my house was a river, kind of a fast flowing stream. And so I went down there and I just sat on this rock. And I just remember crying out to the God that I didn't know and just asking, I'm just really lost and I need help. I really need help. And it's really hard for me to talk about this part. I needed help so desperately that I was in just a very desperate place and crying out to God and just please come and help me. Like, if you're real, I need the lightning bolt, literally. And what he gave me was a 5 senses kind of experience, which I will never forget. And like I said, I write very graphically about everything in the book. But I'm telling you, it was the world teaches us that seeing is believing, but it's just the opposite. It's believing is truly seeing. Mm-hmm. And when God opened my eyes that day on the river, I wear glasses or contacts, and I didn't have on either that day. And I literally could see the bugs on the leaves on trees far away. And I'm in this crystal clear vision. And I don't even know how to describe the colors. Everything was electric, just vivid, the most vivid colors that you could see. And I felt the presence of God and just reaching up to the heavens that I didn't know were even there. And then it was just God came in and he filled those 5 senses in me. And I ran up that hill and I called my boyfriend and I said, you're a great guy, but I just thought I need to break up with you. And God just laid out my whole entire life in front of me that day on the river. And like I said, in a 5 senses kind of experience, he showed me what life could be like with him, with Jesus. And it was in that instant, I just knew. I ran up the hill and called him and I just, said, I just can't be with you anymore.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is amazing. And first of all, thank you for sharing, because you can still see the emotion behind it. And it's brave for anyone who doesn't know who God is or that he exists to say out loud, God, I need you. It's one of the bravest things anybody can say. Even those that walk with him, it's still hard to say because we're earthly people, we're control people. And it's just hard to think that we have a savior, a spiritual savior who will do anything for us.
Mm-hmm. Right. It just brings home that whole part of dying to self, which I never really understood before until then. Was just, you need to give up something in order to be found. And in my case, it was having to give up grace, the grace that I didn't know, my unborn child, in order to get the grace that I really needed, which was Jesus. And just for myself, I needed to be lost in order to be found. And I think that's true for a lot of people. We feel so lost and we don't know why we feel lost until we get found, and we get found by the one, right? That we can just finally love and finally trust unconditionally. And all the hurt and pain, not to say that you won't experience that again in life, but your past is just erased. Like for me, it was erased in an instant. It was like it didn't matter because I'm going to love you anyway. I don't care what you did.
Isn't that what we all want to hear? I mean, and sometimes we forget, even as believers, we forget that still, like, that is just the soundtrack that is like, it doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't matter anymore. My mercies are made new every morning. Like, I'm still here. This is, you're still mine. Nothing can change that. And it's just, we all need that little soundtrack, like a little tape player. Okay, children, tape players were these things that had little circles in them, and you would use a pencil to rewind. Like, do people remember these things? Like, yeah, right? Like, at least I'm not trying to explain a record. Cool.
Well, those are back now.
I know those are trendy. Yeah, but they're pretty. Like, record players are like, those are sexy things. Cassettes were not sexy. Trying to get a pencil to rewind something. Well, tell us, okay, so you have this 5 cents moment of meeting Jesus at the river, and you run up the hill to break up with your boyfriend. And then what? I mean, because so many people there, and it's like a flood of emotion and a flood of like, okay, and then what?
Yeah, well, there was someone that God had waiting for me already in the background. So my husband of 32 years, we were friends, barely. We hung around with the same people, only we didn't really know that. We had been on snowmobile trips with the same group, like him leaving, me arriving before we even knew each other. So yeah, it was pretty incredible. And so when I broke up with my boyfriend, he was also seeing someone and broke up with that person. And he kind of just started asking me out. And we were friends for a year, which was the first time for me that I had ever done that, where I just allowed myself to love someone from the inside out instead of from the outside in, because to me, it was all about, looks and sexual attraction and all this stuff. I got really wrapped up in all of that. And so to just be friends with someone and get to know them that way with literally nothing, no hand holding, no nothing for a year. I mean, it was incredible. And then we were unbeknownst to each other, we were at a New Year's Eve party on a boat down in the harbor. And, we're just like, oh my gosh, we're both here. Like, that's cool. And he goes, you want to take a walk on the beach and go just talk? And I go, sure, it sounds good. And then it's getting close to midnight. So he's like, we should get back to the boat and, watch the ball drop and do all that. So then he gives me the little New Year's Eve kiss thing. And I'm like, don't ever do that again. I'm like, that is the fastest way to ruin a relationship. I go, we're going along just fine, And he goes, you want to go for a Harley ride up to Santa Barbara tomorrow and go for lunch? And I went, huh? Yeah. Okay, let's go. And we were married 8 months later.
Oh my God. Wow. How funny. How funny. The don't do that ever again clearly went in one ear and out the other. He's like,
yeah, he was like, I've been around you a year now. I know that you didn't mean that.
Yeah. Uh-huh. That's so cute. Okay, so 32 years. Congratulations.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. But there's a whole life before that, right? And so that's pretty much where the story that God has redeemed. So tell us a little bit about your book as far as there's the story before the love story, in essence. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I always like to start with the title because people get confused with the title. So giving up grace. A lot of people go, well, why in the world would you want to give up God's grace? Well, I mentioned it earlier, but sometimes you need to give up the grace you don't know in order to get the grace that you really need. So that's how the title, Giving Up Grace, came to me. Was it finally hit me that without going through what I went through, I wouldn't have the story to tell. Without the test, there's no testimony. Without the mess, there's no message,
Yep,
goes on and on, right? So that became the title of the book. And then the subtitle, A Spiritual Rebranding of the Soul, that's the new creation that Jesus does in our life, where he does a complete makeover, basically. He makes over our heart, he makes over our head, and it all points to him. And I like the analogy of rebranding because it's such a buzzword, nowadays where people are rebranding. I did the same thing with my retreat ministry, but it's just like he takes what is old and makes it new. And to have a new heart for Jesus, it's like the best thing, right? So it was like a complete makeover of my heart and my soul and my mind. And we're all connected, spirit, soul, and body. And when you finally get that if one is not in order, like your house is not in order, the whole house, your whole body's not in order because it all affects everything. And the cover of the book is really significant too. The image that's on there, it's me standing in an open doorway, but it's of an old, broken down house. And Tracy, you mentioned in the bio about born out of broken. That's kind of, where that comes from, because I was really spiritually and emotionally broken. And when I'm standing in front of that doorway, that's an open door. That's the invitation that I had been waiting for. And I'm standing expectant, right? With hands open, palms up, ready to receive and walk out through that brokenness and into the light of grace. So that's
so beautiful.
Yeah, that's what started it. It was definitely a God ordained thing. The Lord just one night, just laying in bed praying, just said, you're going to write your story. And I'm like, I don't think so. I'm like, I don't think so. I majored in journalism, and I always liked to write, but I never thought of myself as writing a book. It's a huge, huge undertaking. And it took probably about 10 years total to work through a lot of what the enemy sought to take away. And, I worked through the death of both my parents, a lot of family drama. I was almost kidnapped and trafficked. That's a whole nother thing. But that, the enemy kept throwing things at me, the book was supposed to be published in 2020. Well, we all know what happened in 2020.
Yeah.
Right? So that never happened. And 21 and 22 were really kind of the same, only a little bit modified versions of 2020, depending on where you stood on things.
COVID light.
Yeah.
Yes. And in 23, my husband and I experienced the incident I just mentioned. And so the book, it kept getting put off and off each year from its original publication date. And so finally in 24, I was able to go through some trauma counseling and feel better about carrying on and putting my story out there. But it's been a very vulnerable place to be, for sure.
Yeah. So tell us, obviously, you've told our listeners, you are coming from a place of, not mistakes, moments in your life, because obviously it's not mistakes. God allowed things. You got to where you are today to have a relationship with him and have your redemption story. How did you bring those? What was it like bringing that into your marriage? Had you already worked through everything with Jesus already? Because we know sometimes, baggage gets brought into marriage and there's some hardships there,
Yeah.
Two different stories coming together for one.
Yes.
Yeah. That's such a great question, Tracy, because so I thought, I'm coming to this marriage with a lot of baggage, but fortunately I had a lot of experience on what I didn't want. And so that really helped. And my husband also had the same experience. So both of us, again, unbeknownst to each other, had both read this book by, she's an old radio personality, Dr. Barbara DeAngelis. And she wrote a book called Are You the One for Me? It's not a Christian book, it's a secular book, but it goes through all the red flags of relationships and, like what, yeah, they're so obvious to me now, but, back then they weren't. Well, so I read this book and I went through all the exercises in there. And one of the exercises was to literally make a list of the qualities that you wanted in a partner, ranging from, let's say looks to financial stability to religion to, sports to whatever, things that are must-haves, things that, would be nice to have, and things that we're absolutely not wanting. And so my husband had actually done the same thing with the same book. We didn't know. So in getting together, when our first date, believe it or not, she was speaking, Dr. Barbara DeAngelis was speaking in LA. And he said, I'd really love to go. She's going to be talking about her book and, all that. And I'm like, yeah, sure, let's go. That sounds fun. So on the way down there, he's saying, well, what do you think about marriage? And I'm laughing, I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, I've already been around the block enough times. I said, I'm really not interested at all in getting married again. And he goes, yeah, me too.
Right. Uh-huh.
He had been married once before, and neither one of us had children. So anyway, we get to this conference and it turns out we're at the complete wrong conference because yes, she's there, but she's not talking about that book. She's talking about her marriage book. And it was for couples that had been already in long-term marriages and relationships.
Are you sure he didn't trick you?
That's so funny.
Isn't it though? And so he looks over at me and he's like, well, do you want to stay? I'll stay if you want to stay. And I said, sure. Yeah, I'm game. Well, we ended up like when she'd have breakout sessions, you'd go into a room, just the two of you, and you'd sit there and have to work through these exercises. Well, we ended up just crying like babies in each other's arms and like confessing all this stuff and getting all this stuff off our chests that we've been holding on to forever. And he had a come to Jesus moment too, not quite like mine, but sort of similar. And so we actually sought out Jesus together from our shared experiences. And Jesus has been the head of our household ever since. I'm not sure if that even answered your question. Did it?
Yeah, that answers the question.
I know. I just think we all should have had that experience.
Yeah. Okay, so the recommendation for those soon-to-be unlikely housewives, we recommend going to a marriage conference for your first date.
Absolutely. I highly recommend it. It was so bizarre and so funny that we just thought, well, we have to stay and do it. And then on the way home, I'm like, well, this marriage thing, it's not that bad if you're with the right person.
Yeah, it totally changed your perspective.
So I didn't actually...
I was just going to say, all I'm thinking of is like emptying the garbage, like the trash can, right? And it's like, it's full of all of this stuff, of all these expectations, of all of this junk, right? All the garbage we all bring in, right? Just everything that the lies we've told ourselves, the stories that we've told ourselves, the things that we think we want, we don't. And you just took the garbage bag, threw it out into the dumpster, and then came back with and you're like, all right, now the house is clean. Like, that's like an incredible visual of how to start that's really cool. That's pretty amazing on how God did that.
Yeah, it's totally a God thing. I'm convinced of that, that
Absolutely.
God definitely, he had a plan all along. It's just, that timing thing that he's always, like waiting on God. It's like, really, again, but that's how he operates. So,
well, tell us your story on that, how God always has a plan and the timing on how you guys adopted your daughter.
Oh, another good question. Yeah. So because of multiple abortions, I could not have children. And I always wanted children, but age was creeping up. And when my husband and I got married, I think we were married like a year or two. And, we just started saying about how we would have made great parents. But too bad, it's too late for us. And, he's like, well, I don't know. I mean, he goes, we could always look into adoption. So I'm like, okay, well, so I was 48 at the time. And, a lot of people like to do the math on me because I'm a lot older than people think. So anyway, so we signed up with, a couple different agencies for private adoption. We did all the paperwork. We took all the pictures. Here we are doing this. We make such good parents and, all of that. Well, one day we got called and they wanted us to just drop everything and go to, I think it was like Iowa or something. The birth mother has chosen you. And we both looked at each other and we're like, oh my gosh, we're not doing this, are we? Like, we're not, like, both of us had, careers that we were in, and we were the consummate yuppies that had dogs as children. And we're like, we can't just like drop everything. So we told the attorney, and he just goes, I really think you guys really need to reconsider your decision here, because any other couple that's doing this would have dropped everything and gone to Iowa, and they wouldn't have cared about their jobs and their dogs and all that. They just would have made arrangements and gone. So we had to kind of go, okay, well, maybe that isn't what we're supposed to be doing. Meanwhile, I was teaching a girls' junior high Bible study in our home. And one of the girls brought Alana, who's our daughter, as a guest one night. And Alana had been in foster care since she was 5 or 6 and had been horrifically abused in her early years. And that little girl, she just facilitated herself right into our life. I'm telling you, these foster kids, they're very smart. They're very smart. And they're like chameleons, It's unfortunate, really, but it's the best of a bad situation. But she facilitated herself right into our life and told the social worker that she didn't want to live with the foster mom that she was with, and she wanted to come live with us. So, yeah, this is what I mean. She's very smart. And she's like, I'm thinking I'm liking this life over here better than the one I'm in over here. So one day we get a knock on our door. This is a true story. We got a knock on our door from social services. And I thought, oh my gosh, because here I am doing a junior high Bible study in my house. And did one of the girls say I said something inappropriate to our parent?
Yeah.
Right. And so they, we asked them to come in, and they explained the whole situation, that Alana wants to come live with us and leave her current foster situation. And were we willing to become foster parents? And we're like, well, I mean, can you imagine? Like, we're just, okay. And she's 14, mind you.
I was going to say, she hasn't communicated this to you guys, right?
No.
This is all a surprise to you. She's just been working behind the scenes, telling the social worker, like, we're going to make this happen. Yeah, they're along with it. So yeah, just keep going. Okay.
Yeah, my current foster mom doesn't understand me. So I want to go over and live with this lady and guy over here. And so, we just looked at her and we went, well, we can't give you a decision right this minute. And it was just starting at like summer break. At that time, we went to Idaho for our summers. And so we said, well, we're actually going to be leaving for a few months, and we need that time to make a decision. And she just said, this is literally what she said. She said, well, this is foster care. If that doesn't work out, you can just give her back.
Wait, who said that? The social worker?
Yeah, word for word.
Oh.
Yeah, this is foster care. If it doesn't work out, you can just give her back. And we looked at her and we said, if we take her, we're taking her for life. And so that is a big decision for us to make. And so we did. We took the 2 months and prayed about it and made the decision. Unfortunately, she had to go into a group home for those 2 months, which we didn't want to happen, but it was the only way that it, I guess, worked out. But yes, so she came to live with us when she was 14, and we became foster parents. We legally adopted her on her 17th birthday because we didn't want her to age out of the foster care system.
Yeah.
And she next year is going to be 40. And I know. And we have 2 beautiful granddaughters and possibly a 3rd granddaughter because our daughter, is paying it forward that she is emergency foster caring a baby that she got from the NICU that has no record of a mama. And so they are trying to adopt her right now. So they're in the process of that. So it's kind of come full circle in just this beautiful, beautiful God way, right?
Yeah.
Only God can unfold that.
So did you, before you guys left to go have this, did you guys have a conversation with Alana and be like, hey, thanks for not telling us that you were interested. Didn't know that this was on the table, but very honored that you'd like to live with us. Like, did you talk to her before, like, to get more information and to like, okay, wait, hold on. What's going on? What do you want?
Yeah, there were definitely some conversations about that. And then because I had been doing things with her, I knew her current foster mom because I'd go over to her house and pick her up and take her shopping or, take her wherever. So I had a relationship with her former foster mom already. So, and she was just struggling with her so bad. And her former foster mom is a wonderful woman, and we are still all friends. We're still all in the picture and part of her life. And so that's really beautiful. But she was super good with taking infants, not so good with teenagers. She couldn't relate to teenagers. And because I myself have never had a baby, I'm like, a baby, here, take it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what to do with babies, okay? But you give me a teenager, I can relate to them. So we had all those discussions and we all agreed that it was probably better that she did come and live with us. But the former foster mom is still in our life and in Alana's life. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful thing. So.
That's amazing.
That is, all the pieces, this is just, it really is a beautiful picture that God is painting through your story. And there's so many things that I'm sure there's moments in your life you're like, wow, how did I get here? Where you just look at all of it and you're like, this is such a blessing. But there's so much of our hardship that we go through that we wouldn't have the blessing on the other side if we didn't go through it.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. That's how he operates, right? He just puts stuff in your path, and our job is to be, obedient to his calling. I would have never pictured myself a foster mom, but biologically it worked out much better for us. So because at 48, having a 14-year-old was much better than having a baby.
Yes. Yeah.
Baby.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
Tracy and I have recently been doing math on how our children, like, our youngest daughters are the exact same age.
Born on the same day.
Born on the same day. So we were in the hospital together, not knowing each other 11 years ago, 10 hours apart, which is just crazy. Exactly. But we were doing the math and on the golden birthday for our daughters. And we were like, how is that possible? I'm still 25. I know. Like,
you just don't want to blink and feel that age because you're like, I don't want to be that.
Yeah.
Oh, like there's no way that year's right. That can't. Yeah. It's incredible how you can still. But again, it's doing the math. So that's why I don't do math. That's why I've just, no need to add. That's my recommendation for housewives.
I did want to ask and bring up, Robin, we have talked about when we do things for the Lord, how even just our podcast, we have the enemy wants to just attack. And you wrote this book, and it clearly took 10 years to get it published. But it sounds like
let's give it the credit it's due, to be the book of the year.
Oh, yes.
I mean, that's no joke. I mean, that's a real book of the year. It clearly had to take a process to get there, but the enemy was trying to stop something good. So, but you were saying, sorry.
No, absolutely. It deserves absolutely that recognition. But while it's even still out there and getting in the hands of people, the enemy is still coming and attacking the good that you have done by trying to sneak into you, your family, and just your life. And I know you don't have to share too many details, but do you want to share a little bit about that?
Yeah, I just think that it's, like you said, it's once you write the book, the real work actually begins. And that goes for marketing, for putting yourself out there, for being on podcasts, for just making yourself vulnerable. And any author is going through the same thing, but it's paramount to have covering and to make sure that we're putting on our armor every day, because the battle is real. My publisher just wrote a book, and I'm not going to quote the title correctly, so I probably shouldn't do that. But her book is all about the ways that the enemy sneaks into our life, and the enemy knows our trigger points. That's where her book is something about, you can't recognize, or something about you can't recognize it unless if it's hidden, right? So you need to bring it all out into the open. And people, think of heaven and hell and spiritual warfare as something that's a fairy tale almost. They don't really believe that we are fighting on this earth for the heavenly realm. And we do have authority in that and can take authority in there. But you have to know that it's real. I mean, you can't keep it hidden. So a lot of the things, and I won't go into them, but a lot of the things, would discourage me and would want to make me stop doing what I'm doing and stop putting my story out there. That would be the easy way out. But I'm choosing not to take the easy way out, and I will not stop doing it. And I'm just going to make sure that I keep myself covered. I have 2 beautiful prayers that I pray in the morning over our home, over our family, over ministries. And I put on the armor of God every day. And there's nothing better. And I claim my authority over spiritual darkness, over the enemy. And the enemy's just got no place in my life. So
I love that. Well, I will say we'll get that title from you afterwards, and we'll put it in the show notes, so we'll be able to have.
Thank you. Yeah, I didn't want to butcher it up too bad.
Yeah.
Sorry, Athena.
Well, and it's so, I want to say, after light of cultural events, I mean, let's talk about Charlie Kirk's assassination and things it is such a war of good and evil now. And I think more people are waking up to it, and that's fantastic. I think they're seeing the difference. They're seeing the black and white, this is good and this is evil. But like you said, the spiritual warfare of it, they think of it as a fairy tale. If you haven't read the entire Bible, you don't realize how often the angelic beings are doing things on our behalf to protect us and to, remind me the Bible character, and I say character, Bible person, historical figure. How about that? That sounds a lot more. Where there was an angel who said, I would have gotten to you sooner, but I was tied up fighting a battle against the Prince of Darkness. That was in the Old Testament. I can't remember who. Okay, but
I wish I had a recall brain like that.
Yeah,
I don't.
I'll find it. I'll post it. But it's just they want to get to us and protect us. We can have that authority to call on them, but it's like he was fighting the spiritual darkness right behind you. It's so real, and people they cannot. In our finite brains, we cannot imagine the infinite and the world that it is.
Right. And I think, Tori, you hit the nail on the head too, is just that unless you know the sword of the spirit and the belt of truth, which is the word of God. And, unless you have that in your tool chest, then you are kind of at a loss. And, the Bible also talks about, and this will be one of those things, I don't know where it is either, but about, be careful who you're entertaining because you might be in the company of an angel. And they're everywhere, and they're here to protect us and to guard us and to watch over us. And it's just like Jim and I, we had a incident this summer where we were in a terrible razor accident. They're like a UTV, what those are, side by side or whatever. And there was a guy came around a blind corner out in the wilderness, and he was on a motorcycle and hit us head on. And he was going about 40, maybe 45 miles an hour. And he was completely over on our side of the road. And we don't have a windshield in it. And it is, number one, a miracle because I didn't have a seatbelt on, that I didn't fly out of the razor. And also a miracle that his motorcycle did not come in and decapitate us. And it was the complete protection of God surrounding us. And the weird thing is that we were up on this fire lookout. And I told my husband, I go, I think we should leave. I go, I don't feel like something's not right. And I mean, I had this weird feeling before it even happened, which was so weird, but it was like a warning. And then that happened. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's real.
Yeah.
And the protection is real.
Yeah.
So we don't want to forget about that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I highly recommend, I'm halfway through it now, is that for anyone, is if you're looking for a great Bible study on spiritual warfare, is The Unseen War by Victor Marx. And his ministry is All Things Possible Ministries. And I mean, but each session ends with a battle prayer that you're to say out loud. And it's saying the enemy, you have no place in my home. Get out. In Jesus' name, I rebuke you. Get all of your evilness out. I mean, then it's say out loud over and over, and you're just you don't realize that the power of just saying something like that out loud is oh, wow, the air feels lighter. It's just, it's unreal when you start to really put things into practice and really start believing that it's and recognizing that it's real.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it definitely changes the atmosphere, and there's power in the name of Jesus. That's what it is. His name is power.
Amen.
And so when we claim his name, we're also bringing that power from heaven down on earth. And it's super powerful. And we just need to walk in it.
Yes. Amen.
Yep.
And that's the perfect, we just need to walk in it. And stop. And there we go. Well, I just want to say thank you so much, Robin, for sharing your stories with us. And we'll put the link of your book in the show notes. What's other ways that our listeners can find you? What's your website, social media handles? How can they also find you?
Yeah, I have a website, and it's just my name. So it's robingerblick.com. And you can find out about the book and about my ministry. I also have a ministry, which is Exodus Women's Retreat. And we do faith-based women's retreats that go into the wilderness, and we find Jesus in the wilderness of our soul. And this year we celebrated our 20th anniversary retreat. We've been doing them for 20 years, so it's awesome.
Hey, Tracy, what do you want to do for the 21st?
I know.
Yeah. Well, we already have.
There is next year's.
Yeah.
We already put it out there, save the date. So we're going to Montana next year.
I love it.
I know.
When?
In September, towards the end of September. So you can find that on the
Tracy. For our listeners, you have to go. I'm making eyes at Tracy. I'm thinking I might be able to convince her of this.
Oh, you should. I would love to have you girls. It'd be so much
would
fun.
love it.
Oh, you could do. You know what's cool about the place we're going? They actually have a podcast studio on the ranch. No kidding. Yeah, they do.
Where at in Montana?
It's it would be outside of Missoula. That would be
Okay.
closest place.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tax write-off. I'm just saying. Business.
Yeah. I'll make sure
I
you
have
girls
a
have.
friend in Montana I haven't seen in years, so we might just have to.
I'll make sure you have all the deets.
Yes.
This can be your 40th birthday present that we're making up.
Yeah. 46 years later or 6 years later.
Yeah, we're 46
No, no, wait.
Your 40th was COVID, so that doesn't count.
No.
So
No.
we don't count that one. But
No.
yeah, we'll just do that to celebrate her birthday.
Yeah, that sounds good.
So, well, we're gonna make plans. We're gonna end this podcast so Tracy and I can buy flights. But again, I just want to say thank you so much, Robin, and thank you for not taking the easy way out. Like it would be so easy, and I mean, for you to just go, okay, I wrote the book. That's it. I don't need to keep showing up. I don't need to, if God's going to do something with it, He's going to do something with it. But the problem with us taking the easy way out is that we don't get the blessing with it, right? Like we miss out on so much. And the stories that you have of where you can visibly feel and see and know and share how God protected you from, an ATV accident and things like that. And where God has just continued to lead. I mean, book 2 is coming. I mean, clearly, and all of this. And it's just, I just want to say thank you because it's not many individuals who take the narrow road and just continue to just go, okay, God, like this sucks, but I'm going to keep doing this and keep showing up and putting my name out there when everybody else in the world would tell me, no, stop. You don't have to. You've done it. Now what? And so I just want to say thank you for that because that is where the inspiration and the blessing of others comes in. I mean, you really are truly a blessing to others and everyone that you've come in contact with. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me too. It's been just a super fun time. I love it when we can just sit and talk like we're all in the same room together. It's just so much fun. You girls are easy to be with.
Well, thank you. Well, thank you. Well, we will see you in Montana. Speaking it into existence.
Yes,
right?
let's do it.
Yes, let's do it. Well, thank you so much, Robin. We will make sure your book and your website and all the information where people can find you is in our show notes. And we are looking forward and keep us updated on all the things.
Yeah, we'll do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Robin. Have a great day.
All right. Until next time, housewives.
Until next time. Bye.
Whether we made you laugh or cry today, we pray you feel appreciated, bolder and braver than yesterday, stronger and more faithful for tomorrow, and living in who you were made to be today.
Join our online community on Facebook, link in the show notes. And be sure to review and subscribe on Apple Podcasts or wherever you enjoy listening. Until next time, housewives, we give you permission to walk confidently, free, and to be intentional in your slippers or stilettos.